The heating of this Atego 2 is not working. The reason for this could be, for example, a broken heater box. To get to it, the whole dashboard must be removed. Before you start with the clips, screws and plugs, disconnect the battery. Begin on the passenger side. By hand, open the 4 clips which hold the trim in the footwell. In the same way, remove the upper footwell trim. Move to the driver's side. Also here, remove the trim in the footwell. Undo the 3 screws on the left of the steering column. Once the trim is gone, remove the trim on the right of the steering column. Now the onboard diagnosis socket is next. It's held by 2 screws. Unscrew and then lever out the socket using an assembly wedge and unplug. Afterwards, unscrew the side cover on the driver's side. It's held by 2 screws. Proceed towards the middle, because the stowage compartment is next. Undo the 2 screws on the right and left, and remove. The trim above the instrument cluster is only clipped. It can be easily removed. 3 screws appear, and these must also be unscrewed, of course. Now move back the steering column and remove the screen around the instrument cluster. Remove the 6 screws which fix the instrument cluster at the top of the bracket. When all screws on top have been removed, there are another 2 underneath. Now the bracket and the instrument cluster are free and can be taken out. Of course, behind the instrument cluster are still numerous cable ties and plug connectors. Disconnect everything. For the next step, the light switch module is removed. It's only clipped. And don't forget to unclip the plug connector here. Next, with an assembly wedge, you can lever out the switch unit. Unscrew the 2 screws which hold the operating unit of the heating in the paneling. Once again, separate all cable ties and plug connectors. Proceed with the operating unit for the heating. Unhook the 4 Bowden cables and fold down their fastenings. The ends of the Bowden cables have different diameters. Very practical when it comes to the reinstallation. Back to the driver's side. Now unclip the steering system collar so that the next trim pieces can be removed. Now on the left, beside the steering column, unscrew both screws. And to the right of the steering column, 2 screws must also be removed. Remove then the plug connector and the trim can go. Then we move to the trim in the middle. It's held by 6 screws. First remove both lower screws, then unscrew the 2 screws on the right and left. Then unscrew the 2 screws on the right and the 2 screws on the left, and disconnect the plug connector and the trim can be taken out. We proceed to the center air outlet. Pull out the cigarette lighter and lever out the module with an assembly wedge. Here too, separate the plug connector. Now the instrument device holder is next. First cut the 3 cable ties. Then unscrew the 8 screws. The device holder is now free and can be taken out. Onto the passenger side. Remove the side trim. This is quickly done as it's only held by 2 screws. Next, the upper dashboard trim is removed. Unscrew the 2 screws. Then using an assembly wedge, remove the trim. In order to easily remove the dashboard, pull off the internal window sealing rubber. Now we're on the home stretch and the last 10 screws that hold the dashboard. Remove these screws. Now the dashboard can be taken out. After you've carried out the necessary repair, insert the dashboard again and proceed to the street and carry out a test run. Check whether all electric consumers are functioning correctly. It's also important that you check the tachograph. Looks good. Everything's working fine.